And then these data type having some default values. If we don't assign any value to them while declaring, it is going to assign some default values to them. For boolean, we have like always it's false. So if, let's say, if we define any variable type of boolean and we try to print out the value, even though we have not assigned it any value, it's going to print false. Similarly, char, we have this character, byte short int, it's always 0, long is with 0 capital L, float is 0.0f, and double assigns 0.0d. And as I explained, the size, the boolean is always 1 bit. We can store like true, false, T and F in that. And character is always 2 byte. Byte, this is a type of integral. So it's like 1 byte, short is 2 byte accordingly. I mean, you can go through with the documents with these kind of details. I'm just giving an overview so that when we are implementing in our program, you have some idea. Next is why we have the size and how we categorize with the size, because we need a range of values. In a byte, we have like 8 bit, and in 8 bit, we can assign a numbers from -128 to positive 128. Accordingly, in short, with 2 bytes, we have -32768 to 32767. These kind of values we can store in short. So you can go in detail with all the other data types we have. These are all primitive types. Then I'm going to move to some loops and constructs we have in Java. I'm going to give you an overview how these constructs work, and then we are going to go in IDE. We write some program and we implement these if condition, if else, and else if, and some of the more loops like for loops, while loops, and all. So I'm just trying to give you like a basic theory here so that you understand what I'm trying to do in a code. So in if else constructs, we have like three types of if else. One is simple plain if, where we write if and put a condition. It can be in any expression which is giving a true or false value. So if this condition gets true, all the statements inside this braces is going to be executed. If it is false, it is going to move out from this braces. So no statement get executed if the condition is false. Similarly, if we have a situation where we have to um, find something, whether it's a if some condition is true, then go for this statement. If that condition is false, then go for the other statements. So that's why we use if else. And then if we have like multiple conditions to check, then we go for if and else if. So like you see in the screen, like if the condition is true, go for this statement. Else if, it is going to check again the other condition. If this condition get true, then go for this statement. Else the other statement. We can have multiple else if in spite of else if we have too many conditions to check. But if we have multiple condition, then we have a switch. We don't use if condition for that. Um, in what condition and where to use the if, I've just given some rough idea so that you can keep in your mind while implementing any conditional if condition. So it's like use if to specify a block of code to be executed if specified column is condition is true. Use else to specify a block of code to be executed if the same condition is false. So it's like we are using else if we have the condition checked in if is false. Uh, I know it's a little confusing here, but you would get to know when I write the program and we execute that. You will understand that. And most of you have done the C, C++, so I assume you are getting this if else. The other one is else if, as I said, like if we have like more conditions to check, then we use else if. And if we have like more than, I mean, multiple conditions to check, then we don't use else if, we go for switch. So and there is one more conditional operator. In spite of using if, we can use this. the expression we put here, and if the expression 1 is true, it is going to evaluate expression 2. If it is the expression 1 is false, then it is going to evaluate expression 3. So uh, let's see the next statement I have written here. The variable x is equal to expression and question mark. So this expression is going to get executed and evaluated. If this turns out to be true, then the value is going to be true assigned to x. If this expression is going to be false, then the value after this colon is going to assign to this x variable. So let's do some exercise before moving further, and then I will give you the switch case and all those things. Um, Let me open my, oh, it should be here. So far, any question regarding data type, size, categories, primitive, non-primitive, or simple switch case, or I mean the if conditions? So So for the data type, I have created three variables. Don't worry about this static word and all. We are going to go in later. So I have just created like integer type, and then one variable of boolean, and one is double, and all are like primitive type of data type. And I'm trying to print the value, the default value. So so the value of b is false. As I said, like the boolean values are always false by default until unless we assign true. And then the next statement is d is the double, d double is 0, 0.0, and then integer, it's always assigned 0 to it. These are the basic things that we use. You can type all the data types and try to print it out and get the default values. You can do that. Then let me go to 10, and if I is equal to 10. So I have just assigned a primitive data type int I is equal to 10. So I have assigned the value 10 to integer I, and in the if condition I am checking it. If I equals to double, I mean I equals to 10, then it should print true. So let's see. So it has printed true, and now I'm going to put else here and write a different system out, and let's make it 20. So now what I did is I have assigned a variable I is equal to 20, and I'm checking here. If I is equal to 10, then it will print true. If it is false, this condition is false, then it is going to print false. So we have already assigned a value 20 to this I variable, and we are checking here, so it's going to be false. So let's see and run this program. So it is printing false. So that means this condition get failed and the execution goes to else part. It is not executing this part. So far good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Now let me put else if, and else if needs another condition. Let me put I equals to 20, and I'm going to put else here. And then I'm going to put, so what is going to happen here is I have assigned I is equal to 20, so it is going to evaluate this expression. If it is true, then it is going to print true. Then it is going to go in this. If it is if it the condition get false, then it is going to execute the another expression. If I is equal to true 20, then it is going to print false. And if this is going to get false, then it is going to go to else part. So let's execute this first and see what is going to happen. So it is still printing false because this condition is true. Now let me make this 30 and see what is going to happen. So the value of I is 30, so it is going to evaluate this expression, which is going to be false. Then it is going to evaluate this condition. Again, this is going to be false. And then it is going to go to this statement because there is no more else if or no condition to check. So it is printing none. So it is executing this statement. Okay, so let me go here. Uh, then if we have like multiple else if conditions, then we rather write switch in spite of writing too many else if. That's not a good idea to write else if. So how switch works? We are defining a variable inside the switch, and whatever value we are going to pass in this variable in the switch parameter, and we are going to check those value over here with the case. So all this, one switch having a variable here, and we are going to check the value of that variable over here in the case. So if case is equal to 1, that means if the variable value is 1, then go and execute these statement. And it can be one and multiple statement. It can have like as many statements we want to execute. Forget about this break. I will come back again. Then if the case is 2, if the value of variable is 2, then execute this statement. Similarly, it can go to case n. And then we have that, uh, let me go back here. Like we have that at the end, we have this else. If none of the condition is true, then go for this value. So similarly, if none of the condition matches here, none of the case is true, then it should execute the default statement. Now, why this break is? So if the value of variable is, let's say example 2, then it will go in this case and evaluate the value. It's not 2, so it's not going in here. But if the value of the variable is 2, it will go here. And if we don't put this break, it is going to evaluate the next case and do the statement. So that's why we are putting break here. So once the value we have the matching value here, it executes the statement. And break, what it does is it takes it out of this switch. The whole switch is going to be, the execution is going to be moved out from this switch. So that's why we use this break. Okay, so let me do the one simple exercise with switch case so that you will understand. Let me remove this, and I'm going to write a simple program so that you understand how this switch works. So string. Don't worry about this string, what it is, I will explain you later. Time is equal to, let's say people are coming late here, so it's on time and int time is equal to 0, and now I'm going to make switch time. Case 1, maybe we can put early. So what I'm trying to do is I have created a variable time, and I'm trying to find the different cases if it matches with the time variable. So I want to execute system println so, and let me so what we are trying to do here is we need to go in switch, and we have defined a variable time here, and I'm going to check with each case the value of time. If it is early, I'm going to print early and assign a variable, this timing is equal to 1. And similarly, I'm going to do, if the case is, let's say, late, I'm going to print late and timing would be 2. Let's say if somebody is on time, I'm going to print this. Somebody won't come, so let me maximize this screen so that you can see all the code. So okay, so I have defined a string variable on time, and checking this with the switch case, if the value of time is early, let me put early first, then it will execute this statement, assign a timing variable to 1 and go out from this switch case. If the value of time, if time value is late, then it is going to print this value, assign a variable 2 to the timing. Similarly, if it is time is on time, then it is going to print on time and leave out of this switch case. And if somebody is not on late, early, or on time, that means no show, he didn't even came. So we are going to print this. So I have, like, first I have assigned this value early, and let's execute this and see what is happening. I didn't save it, so we have to save it. So it is saying early. Now if I put it here late and execute it, so it's get printing late. So I hope you are understanding. The value of this variable is getting checked in this case. So whatever case match, it is going to print that value. Is there any doubt? Or let me. So we have a value late in the time. So it in the switch case, it goes to this case and find it. The value late is correct. We are having this value. It is printing the value late here, and then it assigned a value 2 to the timing. After this switch case, we came out and tried to print out the value of timing. It is printing 2. Or let me do a if else case with this so that you have a complete idea how the if else works, and you can compare the switch case. So if is equal to 1, is equal to 1, that means it's early. Let me put else if, because we need to check the another condition here. So if the timing is 2, it should print late, or else it should print, I mean, we need to have one more else if. Let me know if it's too boring. I will try something else to make it little funnier. I don't know how to make that, but I can try. So so um, we have defined a switch case, and with each case we are assigning some value to this value, variable timing, and on the basis of this timing value we are checking the if condition. If timing is equals to 1, then it is going to print early. If timing is equal to 2, it is going to print late. If timing is equal to 3, should be 3 and should be 4, then it should print on time. If the timing is 4 or any else value, then it is going to print no show. Do you have any question here?
Is it fine if there is no default statement there?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so what if the string time is something which is not in the switch case?
I mean, come again.
Yeah, after the public static void,
Okay, yeah.
there's like string
Like
time.
there is no default statement.
Yeah,
So in
in
that,
the switch there's no default statement. So
so it's
what if the time value is something which is other than, which is not specified in all the cases?
it won't execute anything at all. How it is going to
Okay.
execute is it assign a value here in time, and check the value over here. If it is the same, what we have the case one early, it execute this. If it is late, it execute this. If it has a value on time, it execute this. If it is having no show, it execute this. If none of the value match with any of the case, it will come out of the switch. This is the end of switch, right? So nothing get printed.
Okay,
Maybe
so there won't be anything printed on the console.
yeah. Let me see. I mean, let me
Okay.
show you how it works.
It should print no show, right, in the end,
Uh,
according according to your if condition.
not match here. Then I mean, we have to put a default actually. So I mean, if I put default, then it is going to print nothing. So default is, and I can print out. So I mean, so let's see how this works. If the value is, I am assigning x, y, z to this time. So it is not going to match with any of the case, not with this early, late, on time, no show. So what it's going to do is it's going to print this no value. So this is default. If there is no matching case, then it is going for default. Make sense?
Yep.
Right. So
My question is,
mhm.
if there is no default statement, then what is it going to print if nothing matches the
it won't
value of time?
it won't print anything because there is no
Okay.
statement. Let's see. I mean, let's wait. Let's execute this first, and you will see the. So it is printing no value, right? Let me comment this if thing so that you won't get confused with the other. So it is printing no value because the value we have assigned to time is xyz, and the default is because it's not matching with any of the case, so that's why it's going to default and it is printing no value. So let me remove this default and see what is happening. It should not print any value at all, right? See, there is no value coming out because it matches with each cases and it comes out with the switch.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, and now let me remove this break thing and see what is happening here. So it's not matching with any case and it's going there. So let me put late. So why this happened? So let's evaluate. I have put a value late here and it matches here. So it execute this, put the value 2, and then it is going to execute these statements because we didn't put the break. You got my point? So any case where it get matching thing, it uh, after that it is going to execute all the statements. And if
No matter what is in the system.out, it's going to be executed after the late.
right, and I am putting the system out dot println. It can be any statement. It can be any set of statements over here. So any operation you can do. I mean, you're adding, subtracting, or doing some more coding here. So you can do any stuff here. So I'm just, for example, I'm giving you this system out. So I mean, I just want to give you the execution, how this Java compiler execute the program. So if you have that thing very clear in your mind, there would be no trouble. So once it may meet with any case value true, and then after, if there is no break, it is going to execute all the statements in all the cases. That's what it is happening here. So let's say if I put early, so it is going to print early, late, on time, show all the four values. What is happening here? Did I miss something? Let me put on time. So I put here on time. So it's finding on time case true. It is printing this and going after the next statement. And does this switch case clear to everybody, or do you need more explanation in that? Good?
That's clear.
Okay.
Good.
So then I have this if, else if. So we can achieve the same thing, but we are doing here with the switch case with the else if. So like the way we are doing here. If timing is equal to 1, print early. Else if timing is equal to 2, print late. Else if. So we can have multiple else if. So this way, or we can have like switch timing, I mean case timing. If the timing value is 1, then it's going to print this one. So that way. So it's like if we have like too many cases, then we go for switch case in spite of using else if. Clear? So the next one is for loop. I'm going to send you this PPT, so maybe you can have a reference over here. So the for loop is how it works is we define a for loop with three expression in it. First is initialization, second one is the expression which is like a termination you can say, or some condition we put. If the value of this expression, the middle one, termination variable, is going to true or false, on the basis of that the next is the statements are going to executed. And the third one is increment. So how this for loop works, the pointer comes to initialization, we can initialize any variable, and then it checks the condition here. If it is true, it goes and execute this statement, and once these statements get executed, it will go to the third parameter and do the increment in this initialization, what we have initialized, or any kind of operation we want to do. And then again it checks the expression here and then execute the statement. I'm going to give you the practical example, you will understand more. I'm just giving an overview how it works. And then there is like enhanced form of loop, which is like came with after Java 5 came in the market. So it's like it works for the, it's like a short form of collection. If we have any, I mean it's a short form of for loop. If we have any collection and arrays and all, so this for loop works for them. So we will talk about this when we work on collection. Then we have a condition while loop. So in a while, what we do is we put a while and put an expression. If it is true, the all the statements inside this braces is going to executed, and once all the statement get executed, it will again come back to this expression. If again it's true, then it's going to execute it again. So that's how it works. Then there is another loop which is do while. What is the difference between the while loop and do while loop is it has expression here with the while. So it first checks the condition and then execute the statements. In a do while, it does the statement first and then check the condition over here. So that's the difference between these two. I'm going to give an example on our Eclipse. Uh, let's let me do here. First, we can go for the for loop. I is equal to 0. I is less than 10. I plus Let me go back here, and I guess I have created some. Yeah, I mean, before writing for loop, actually we missed something. We just jumped on the if else. So in Java, there are like different kind of operators. One is like arithmetic operators. It's like general, plus, minus, multiplication, division, and modulus. I hope everybody knows what that is. I don't have to explain them. The second one is equality and relational operators. These operators are to check any value. This is like if like the way we have done the if condition check. If I double equals to 10, that means it's checking the value of that. If I'm using only single double equals to, that means we are assigning some value to that. So that's the difference, double equals to and single equals to. So these are the equality operators. So this one is not equals to, this one is less than, then less than equals to, greater than equals to. These are the relation operator we use in Java. We are going to use them in our like for loop and different programs we are going to write. And then comes the conditional operators. This n% is like if we have like two condition in a one statement we want to check, we put this n% in between. And if we have like or condition, like whether this condition is true or the condition second is true, we have to execute. So this is like or, like and then we have a different law. I mean the if operator. I'm going to run a program for this. So we write an expression and then put a question mark and put a value true and false after this colon. I'm going to give you an example on that. And then there is a not equals to logical operator. So that's how we check, like this is for the Boolean value. If there is some expression and we want to check whether it's a true or false, and we want to put a conditional operator on that, we can use that. Then there is like unary operator, which is like increment, decrement. So if we put like plus plus, so it is going to increment the value to one unit. If minus minus, is going to decrement that value to 1 unit. Then there is like type comparison operator. This is something with the class. We define like some class and we want to test if this class uh, is an instance of some other class. So I will explain you this later because we have not touched the class thing right now. So once we cover that, I will explain you this later. And then there is like bitwise and bit shift operators. You don't have to go much in detail for now. So let me see if so this is like the conditional operator. This is similar to if. Let me give you an example over here before moving to for loop. I'm sorry I missed that part. Uh, let's say int I is equal to 10 if I double equals to 10 or let me do this, x is equal to true, then x is equal to 50, either 100, or let me string. So what I'm trying to do here is I have defined two variables. One is string. Don't worry about this string. It's like class. I will explain it later. So I have defined a variable. This is like non-primitive type. I defined a variable string and I defined a variable of primitive type I is equal to 10. And I'm doing this this is kind of a if condition. It's in a one line. So if I is equal to 10, then assign a value true to this string variable. If this condition is not true, that means if I is not equal to 10, then assign a value false to this string. And then I'm printing whatever the value it is going to assign it. So let's see. No, I didn't save it. So it is printing true. So that means this condition is true. So let's change the value of this and see what is going to happen. So it's printing false. So this condition get false. So that's why the value of false is going to assign to string variable actually. Is there any confusion here? Let me go back to this. So we have one expression here, and this is similar to if condition. If this expression is true, then print this value or execute this statement. If this condition is false, then execute this value. So you can read it like, if this is true, do this, else do this. So it's very similar to if, but it's like a one line expression. So that's how, like, if there is like not much number of lines of statement we need to execute, we use this operator. This is called conditional operator. So we can use if condition or we can use conditional operators. It depends. If we have only one statement to execute, we generally go for this conditional operator. If there are like multiple statements we need to execute, we will go for if. So if this is true, execute this statement. If this is false, go for the else part. The same way we do for the if else condition. It's clear? I'm not hearing anything.
Yep.
Yeah, clear.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, why I went to this, because I wanted to give you this operator because I'm going to use in some of the loops and this and or conditions. So I thought maybe I should give you this overview. And this is like pretty basic and self-explanatory. I don't have to give you much detail in that. So if you have any questions, you can ask me.
Could you show the example of instance of?
Uh, I think that's not a good idea to show you, because once we cover the class and all those things, then of course I'm going to use this instance and I will explain you there. And
Okay,
very soon we are going to go on that.
okay, I see.
Yeah. So for now we are going to use these things. Maybe I will give you one example of this and or so that you will understand. So let's jump on to the and to comment in our Java we comment like control shift and forward slash. It's like multi-line commenting shortcut. So I just selected all these lines and clicked control shift forward slash. So it put this thing over here, the forward slash and star and forward slash. That means it all these lines get commented. So that means these lines won't get executed when we run this program. And if you want to write a one line comment, then two forward slash. So that's how we do. And let's try to understand what we are trying to do here with the for loop. So the for loop has started here and we have done the initialization. Uh, I have defined a variable called int I and I have assigned a value to 0. And then in the next expression I am giving like if I is less than 10, then it's true. So I mean this is going to be an expression which is giving me true or false. So I'm basically checking here this I is less than 10 or not. if it says true, I is less than 10, it will go and execute the statement whatever we have in this braces, the for loop. So for now I have written this, the value of I, whatever the value at that time, I'm just trying to print in here. And once this line get executed, after this braces, it will go to the third expression and do the operation what we have defined here. So this I plus plus, what it is going to do is, it's going to increment the value of I with one value. This I plus plus is nothing but I am writing I is equal to I plus 1. So whatever the value of I is going to add 1 to that. This is like unary operator. So in Java, we can write this, or this is like a short form. We can use a unary operator here. So let's try to execute, and I will explain you how it is getting executed one more time. Oh, I didn't save it. Yeah. So I have a value of I is equal to 0, and then I'm checking here if I is less than 10, it says yes, true. Then it goes here and execute this value of I, and the value of I at the first time, at the first iteration is 0, right? And then it comes out here, and then it goes to this line, this expression I plus plus. So what it is going to do is, the current value of I is 0, and it is adding 1 to it, so that becomes 1, and then it goes to again to this expression where we check the value, this condition, is the value of I still less than 10? If yes, that means true, it goes and execute this next line again. And the second time the value of I is 1. Similarly, it goes up to the number of times where this condition gets satisfied. When the value of I is 9, it goes here and makes it one more added value to it is 10, and then it goes and check here, it is less than 10, it says no, it's false. Then it comes out from the loop. Is it clear? I guess not. So let me explain one more.
Yeah. I have a question.
Sure.
Like, there's no default statement for a for loop?
No, actually for loop is I mean, all the loops, not only for loop, the while loop and for loop, these are for they're like set of statements we want to execute multiple times on the basis of some condition. So that's why we have this loop thing. The default value and all those things are for the, I mean, that is for the switch and if condition. So if this is true, go for this.
Okay.
If this is false, go for that kind of thing. And if none of
Oh,
them is true or false or nothing, then go for some default value. So that has a different purpose. So
okay.
yeah, and switch and for are, I mean, switch and if are having those default values. They have different purpose. But for loop and the while loop, which we are going to see now, is for executing a set of statements number of times.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Yeah. Let's see, I have like I is equal to 10. Let me put it equals to sign here. And Amir, how many times and
Yeah, Raj.
how many values I'm going to see here if I put equals to?
There'll be there'll be one more value, which is value of I is 10, because 10 equals 10, and one more statement will be generated.
Good, good. So let's execute that. Okay. So as I have explained this operator, so I try to use one of them so that you will have an idea how it works. We use them for any kind of expression. We are trying to evaluate the value is true or false. So they're like these. That's why they are called relational operators. So these we can use over there. And let me put if condition here. If I table is equals to 5 and So what I did here is I put a break. So break are not associated with the switch and all. Break can be used anywhere in our program. So what does it break does here is like the way I have explained in switch. Whenever there is a break statement, it jumps out of that loop. So it is printing the value of I all the time till the value of I is equal to 5. So when the value of I is equal to 5, it prints it out, it executed this statement, and then it went to the next statement, which is like if I is equal to 5 and break. That breaks takes it out of this loop. So as soon as it hits this break statement, it is going to take that execution out of this loop. Clear?
Yeah. One more question.
Hmm.
So in system.out, there's plus I.
Hmm. Okay.
So what does it do exactly? Because I can see I plus plus, which I know a little about it, and but what is plus I mean?
This is like it's a kind of a string operator for now. You can understand. Generally, with this plus, this is like a arithmetic operator, but in a class of string, it has been defined as a string concatenator operator. So if we have a value string here and if we use a plus operator with this, that means it is going to concatenate the value of whatever variable over here as a string. So this plus sign is going to make the whole line as a string. So value of I dash dash, it's a string, and plus sign, that means I'm going to add one more string to it. So this value of I is also it's also going to be converted to a string value. Right now this is like a primitive value, I is equal to 0, 1, 5, whatever. But when we see this plus sign, it is going to convert this value to a string value. So there's like inbound and outbound things I'm going to explain you later when we start with the class and object thing. Right now I'm just trying to focus with this basic primitive data types and the basic operations and the loop thing so that you will understand little familiar with the Java environment. You can write some programs with the for loop, while loop. You can use these operators plus, minus, or the relational operators. So once you are familiar with this, then I'm going to jump on the object and class and all those method things, and then I will explain this string and all, I mean string and all those classes to you. It sounds like a good plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have done for loop. Let me comment it out. Let's do while. I have int I is equal to 10 again. I is less than 10. Can copy this. So I have assigned a value of value 10 to integer variable I, and then I'm trying to run this while loop. So it checks the condition here. If I is less than 10, it will execute this. If this turns out to be false, it will come out from the loop. So let's run this and see what is happening here. Oh yeah, we have defined I is 10, so at the very first go it is false, and that's why it is coming out not printing anything here. So if I make this 0, and somehow we have to do that the increment value, or maybe I should do this, more appropriate, easy to understand. So what it is going to do, I value of I is 0, it is going to be true for the first time, it will print the value of I is 0, and then it's going to assign a value of I plus 1 to the I again. So I value is 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. So i's value would be 1 when it goes for this condition. So it will iterate up to the value of I gets 9, and when the value of I is 10, then it is going to come out of the loop. So that's how it happens. Like first time it goes, checks for the value of I, it's 0. It is true, it is printing out this, executing this statement as well. Now the second time value of I is 1, again executed. So far the value of I is 9, it is getting executed. The moment the value of I get 10, this condition get false and it comes out from the loop. So that's how the while loop works. So what is the difference between while and for? Can anybody explain me? No? In a for loop, we have this three expression over here, 1, 2, and 3. So we are initializing the value, we are comparing the value, the expression here, true, false, and we are incrementing the value. We can do the same with the while loop, but what is going to happen is we have to initialize this. If I put this I is equal to 0 inside this, how I can check this? It cannot be checked over here because the initialization should have been done before this while loop, right? I can do this increment value over here, what I'm doing here, but I cannot initialize the value inside the while loop. So the variable of I has to be defined before this condition, right? Do you understand the point?
Yeah, yeah, got it.
Let's do the oh did I now the do while.
So that's the only difference. Only one thing.
I'm sorry.
That's the only difference between while and for. Like you have to initialize before that.
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
you can have like there are like tricks once you are familiar with this, when you're used to of this, you can do something. But that's the major difference you will find. Like you have to initialize a variable somewhere, and then you can use this in a for loop. I mean, in a for loop, you can initialize right here. It's not necessary you have to initialize here. It can be initialized above the loop, and you don't have to have this thing. And you just put this condition here and the increment value, that's it. Even if this increment value goes inside this loop, that doesn't matter. But this loop, I mean this for loop has been created to have that kind of function where you have initialize expression and then the increment. So if you come across with that kind of situation, you should use for loop. If you are having a situation where you just need to check and execute a set of a statement, then you should use the while loop. Now the next one is do while. Int I is equal to again 10, I is less than 10, what, and system. So it's going to do the same thing. It should be 0. So if I go to do and the value of I is 0, it is going to print the value of I is 0, and then it's going to check if it is less than 0, yes, true, then it will go again to the do. I mean from the very basic beginning of that loop. So the difference between the while loop and do while loop is, in while loop, I removed actually, I should have kept it, while condition, and then so You see the difference? In a while loop, we are checking the condition first and then executing the statement. In a do while, we are executing the statement for the first time and then checking the expression condition here. So oh, I mean it
There's no increment operator.
yeah, yeah, it went to the infinite loop actually, because every time the value is 0 and it is going inside the loop, so it's going to be infinite for forever, because the condition is getting true all the time and it's going to be executed for forever. So we don't have I is equal to I plus 1, so this I value get printed, then the I value get incremented, and then it will go to the beginning again after checking the value. So now it is going to increment the value, and the value of I when it becomes 9 or maybe 10, then it's going to fail this condition, it will come out of the loop. There you go. I guess this is enough for today, and I expect you guys to do some practice with all these loops and constructs I have defined. Let me go through real quick and ask you guys if you have any questions. We have defined the data types. There are like two types of data types: primitive, non-primitive. And in primitive, we have like Boolean, numeric having integral types, which is having byte short, int long, and float double. Most of the time, we come across with int, and we play around with this Boolean. So I would ask you to do some exercise with them. Don't worry about this non-primitive. We will cover it later. Then we have moved to the default values, so you can do that. Then I have given you the sizes and all. Of course, you can Google it and some go for some documentation and read about it, just for an idea why we are having this size, because we want to save some memory. If we are needing only a 1 byte kind of variable, I just want to have a integer value. I mean, uh, numeric value 1, or maybe maximum value of numeric I can have 10. Then in spite of using long or some bigger value, I can use short, right? So that I can save some memory. So that's, you have to think that way. And then we have covered the arithmetic operators, equality relation operators, conditional operators, unary, and type comparison I'm going to discuss later when we talk about the class and all. Bitwise you don't have to go now. I don't think you need to use that. If you really want to, maybe you can have a session for that. Then we have checked the if statement, then if else, and then if else if conditions we have checked. We read about the break, how to come, and we discussed when to use if, when to use if else, and when to use else if. And then we have defined the switch cases, and then the conditional operator we have discussed, for loop and enhanced for loop, which I just gave you an idea what it is, but I am sure you don't understand now. But we are going to cover that when we are moving to collection or some different arrays. Then we have defined the while and do while. We have differentiated between them. So any question in this area? No question?
Everything sounds good.
Good. So please do exercise some of the for loops and while loops, and let me know if you have any questions. And we are going to meet tomorrow again, 30. Sounds good to everybody?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Yep.
Okay, okay, cool. Sorry, I mean, I didn't get enough time to make it more entertaining and, have some fun, but I will try to make it more interesting. I know it sounds like, it's like boring theory and all, but I'm sure when we move on to the classes among objects thing, it will be more interesting and more. Right now, I have covered kind of little theory part and little given you some coding thing. So it will be better, I'm sure. So regroup at 8:30 tomorrow.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thanks.